Something that drives me nuts in the roofing marketing space is seeing roofers accidentally misdiagnose platforms for the reason why they're not getting results, which ultimately it's not wrong in the fact of they are receiving the bad results that they're not wanting to see, but the reason why they're actually experiencing that has nothing to do with what they might think it has to do with. A lot of roofers think Facebook or Instagram meta ads send bad homeowners, and it can. It can also send a lot of good homeowners. So in this video, what I want to talk about is how Meta isn't sending roofers price shoppers, rather bad ad creative is. And the main reason is that Meta is a $1 trillion platform, right? There's roofers in your market and other markets that are crushing it with Meta. I just want to show from the perspective of somebody who's helped hundreds of roofers scale their companies with Meta ads and help add 7 figures in roof jobs to these companies like over the span of years. What is it that these companies that I work with that crush it and that don't crush it know that some others don't? So here's the first thing that I want to address. The thing that I hear in person at events like International Roofing Expo, on the phone, comments on Facebook, forum threads, etc. Meta leads are tire kickers. Paid social can only bring price shoppers, and these people just want the cheapest number. This is, of course, a bit of an exaggeration. Not everyone is like this, but when it comes to the complaints that we hear, these are the 3 most common. They're completely right, by the way. Roofers are right that something is broken, right? You might experience these same things, whether it be right now or in the past. They're just wrong about what is it that's actually causing it. It's not the actual platform. Blaming that platform is actually really expensive because if you quit the channel, a competitor in your market's running it and eating the demand that you walked away from should you have set it up in a way that was proper, right? Or demanding more leads from the same ads that got set up. It's like running something through a system that is poor will only produce more poor result, not a different result. And so it requires a shift in thinking if you really want to add high 6 figures in revenue per month from another platform. It doesn't even have to be Meta. It just has to be the idea of how it is that you choose to approach things. The worst of all is that most of the time when trying to fix results, every wrong lead that comes in teaches the algorithm who to find next. What is the cause of all this? Bad creative. And when I say creative, I'm specifically talking about the people, the houses, the background, the words, the captions, everything that goes visually into an ad, right? That would be your picture or video and the text that you pair along with it. Nowadays, in the age of Facebook Andromeda, which was a new update that was released in like 2025, late March, April, creative is everything. And you might see and might hear in some bigger companies' departments about how they have a creative production team. They understand something that a lot of smaller scale companies don't. Creative production and distribution is the company, not the roofing side, right? And the old belief that kind of keeps some roofers stuck at their, low 7 figures in scale is that paid social will attract the wrong homeowner in their market, whereas the right roofers have so much creative production, so much assets like videos, testimonials, walkthroughs on roofs, educational videos, pictures with homeowners, and so much more that they can teach the algorithm who do I actually want to get in front of? What kinds of homeowners at which calibers in their socioeconomic status do I actually want to get in front of? Put a cheap number in the ad, you're filtering a price shopper on purpose. But lead quality is actually decided upstream before anyone fills out the form. So you can control it and get a better result. Here's how it works. And this is how you can fix things, as well as just understand maybe if you've gone wrong in the past or before you go wrong in the future, for those of you that haven't tried, what is it that determines the quality of your lead? Well, it's the creative, right? Remember, like me in this frame, I am the creative. What's in my background, this is the creative. The words I say, that's the targeting. It controls everything. It's going to find the people that it's most likely to get engagement from. Facebook is so smart. So you're getting the frame set with the actual creative, and then it selects the intent. So Facebook's algorithm is going to select who is it that's most likely to respond to it. That intent then gets onto your calendar, and you start to really see it with the close rate. You don't have to wait till you get downstream here. You can control it upper part of the funnel, right? And so, true story that we've actually experienced is there was a roofer. We checked out his ad account when we first got hired to, first consult and then take over his marketing. There's a roofer agency that ran like $6,000, $14,000 roof ads that he never approved. And the problem is that it seemed good on paper, right? He was getting great appointments, but the thing is, the ad made the promise and price people answered it. He found out later when his sales compared to other platforms like referrals, Google SEO, LSA, all those that are warmer, it was just very apparent in his close rate, his CAC, and his overall return on investment. And so this just gets called bad leads, but that's a really inaccurate take on the situation. It's true, right? There's price objections, leads that might ghost or that don't close, but that you could have multiple sales reps on your team that run the same appointments and one of them is crushing it and then the other says it's a tire kicker. That could be a difference in like an actual lead problem and a platform problem and the actual sales issues that need to be solved. So want to make sure that you get your data right if you're not running the appointments yourself as a roofing business owner. A lot of things up here though, 1, 2, and 3 with price objections, ghosting leads, and leads that don't close, that is a problem that you can solve by fixing ad creative. And so just understand, with my example, referrals in Google, someone's coming to you, they're vouched, they search, trust is pre-built, they're closer to a laydown. The problem is that referrals are, unpredictable, although they are coming in. You can't exactly just 3x it on demand. With Google, it's pretty expensive and the cost will only go up, but it's a laydown. If you have a good system and it costs an appropriate amount and you can actually get a good return on investment, say your cost per appointments and the hundreds of dollars pushing close to 1,000. It's a different kind of conversation. Meta, the problem that many roofers experience, is a different kind of conversation. They come in at a different kind of mindset. We're interrupting the mid-scroll. It's a real homeowner that has a real roof and needs a real budget, but there's lower starting trust, right? It's a conversation that's worth having. It's just not a laydown. And so most of these companies that succeed with meta ads, they know something that the others don't, which is these homeowners need a roof ultimately, and they're looking for the best roofer to go ahead for them to choose and fix it. So it just comes down to who has the best presentation, who's able to come at the right time, who's able to filter out and find more of the right ones. Here are the bad ads. I want to show you what are real ads running right now that select the wrong kind of people. Well, this is the first example of 3, and then I'll show you 3 really good ads, some that you can model after. But 3 bad ads, starting with the first one, price anchor. I was on the Facebook ad library and I was intentionally looking for bad ads because I've seen inside of ad accounts before, right, from my own clients, experiences that they had negative experience with, and it all led back to something that could have been prevented. Would you like a roof for $1,500? And they start talking about things that only appeal to homeowners that are really just looking for price. There's nothing about roof, there's nothing about quality. Every homeowner who responds is responding to an ad that made a promise about a specific cost. Cash counting roofing frames, that's just money hacks, and you might just be training your algorithm to keep on finding worse and worse leads. It's a forever down trending spiral. Another one is a slashed price, right? Like a roofing special. It's like a special. It's almost fully booked. There's fake urgency. It's a fake person with a fake account. It could also be a real roofing company, but it just feels really tricky. It's almost like those discounts where you mark the price up, but then really you're just marking it up so that you can get down to what it should have been at the beginning. And the program language, there's program languages that just sound like statewide government programs that it's just not true. And it's essentially training for your market, not just to wait for a deal, but for them to know that there's just a bunch of tricks and it doesn't work for long term. You might experience some results with actual sales, but your cost per acquisition is going to be really high, and this is a very, very short-lived tactic. Implying government programs that don't exist. The state is enrolling, right? It's not. These are the kind of programs that leave a bad taste with homeowners on your brand and can also set you up for failure with other homeowners that might have otherwise been interested in choosing you for selecting you for a roof project. And so when they see that you're tying yourself to these programs, what they're really hearing is it's not legit. These guys are a little bit fishy. And so it just burns trust for a legitimate roofer that advertises in your market, which could be you, and it's just unnecessary, completely preventable. It makes your downstream results worse because they remember your name. It might work with the homeowners that are unsuspecting, but that's very far and few between. Here's how you know if you have a good ad. Can every roofer in your market say that same thing? Here's what's wallpaper. Anyone can say it. Great work, fair prices, quality materials, free estimates, family owned, free inspections. If anyone says it, it doesn't filter anything. It selects your buyer. But if you can actually say it and no one else can exactly say it, if they're just like a chuck in a truck, right? So the people who actually can say things that not everyone else can say, it's like, I've been here for 22 years. We're certified with Owens Corning, GAF, IKO. We're veteran owned and operated. The owner shows up to every appointment, or we've done 400 roofs in XYZ zip code, and yours could be next. You can also talk about things like local initiatives, food drives, sponsored soccer events, or even team members that have had such long tenure that people recognize them, and you can post that. You can leverage that. Maybe someone on your team is a firefighter, or you might be PE backed, but the most expensive roof that you have to pay for as a homeowner is the one you have to pay twice for, right? So it depends. You play your cards as a bigger company or a smaller company. The smaller run shop can run things like, don't pay for a big company's sales commission on top of your roof. Just deal straight with the owner. We're not a PE-backed corporation. And a big company can't say that, right? On the other hand, a big established company, which is most of my clients, they can lean into their social proof, right? 50 years local, certified crews. They're featured in local TV. And again, the most expensive roof is the one that you pay twice for. They're both strong, but each is true for only one of them. And so you play into your cards at what size in business you are that only you hold, because not everyone else can say that. Pepper in other things like great work, fair quality prices, amazing materials. You're set up to appeal to the right homeowners from the get-go. That is the offer. The offer is your company, not just a price. Here's what the good ads look like. I have covered up some names of our clients, but I put together 3 ads that I want to show you are the most important. Right? We want to sell them the what, not the how, never just the price. Here's a straight talk long copy, right? So what it looks like is drive through any Central Florida neighborhood right now, and you'll see roofing crews on every other street. It's not a coincidence. Homeowners who've been through one too many storm seasons know waiting on a roof replacement doesn't save you money, it costs you more, right? What does that imply? That's implying the person reading this already knows that, or if they don't know that, we're educating them, and they've gotten to this point. And they're the kind of person that plans ahead, and we're talking about how we're veteran owned, which Florida homeowners love, local, and how many homeowners we've helped, right? And we can lean into that social proof most on the creative. The creative is the most important part. We're talking about how we do tile roofs, right? We don't have to say that on the ad copy, but we're showing how we're doing tile roofs. What does that bring in? Homeowners who can actually afford tile, right? Tile done the right way. And we're setting up how we're doing tile, the brand, we're certified, etc. We're also showing them a home that we've done, and we're naming their fear directly, right? We're also saying how we're not going to inflate their prices, we're not going to cut corners, and we're not going to ghost them if there's any issues. There's also another way of doing this with this financing. Copy is very important, right? But the copy from the next 2 ads I'll show you is the same. As long as it's strong enough to represent your company in a way where no one else can just say the same thing, you're set up for success. I'll give you another example. Financing frame, right? So financing is inherently not the perfect angle because it pulls in homeowners who need it, but it also pulls in homeowners who don't need it, that like the optionality, that probably can pay cash and may have not even converted because of the financing, but just because some company has financing, it implies something. It implies that your company is a company that is worth having with a financing company, which means that you're more established, right? So financing made it easy to say yes. We're leaning into social proof. We're showing an actual home in Central Florida with an American flag as well as just veteran owned. And we're showing the owner's face, right? So we're addressing the money without naming a price, right? It's not a promise. We're putting the voice of a homeowner, and we're putting the owner's face in the card. And this is a card that most competitors just don't want to lean into, right? Just personality. We don't want them to overpay. We don't want them to get ripped off. It's not the same as a person who is a bargain hunter. They're looking for outcomes. These people are looking for certainty. Certainty that they've stumbled across the right person. Last example, proof of work. You can show examples of before and afters and proofs of work. You can talk about storm damage depending on your market. You can put in trucks, or the actual thing that gets attached to your truck with the materials or the actual garbage. And you can talk about your different things, like, are you veteran owned? Is there a firefighter on your company? How long have you been in business? Are you BBB accredited? We can show things and real images with neighborhoods with like small subtle tells, like, okay, this homeowner might be like, oh, that's my street, I recognize that area, oh, I see that cul-de-sac all the time when I'm driving, right? It's hard to copy that because it's your work. And what you'll notice across all three ads is that there's no real price anchor or a discount or a fake program. Do we run pricing ads at Roof Ignite? Yes, we do. But we don't do it without having other things be true, which is playing the cards of the company and leaning into that. The price and the reason why the lead comes in is in spite of this pricing. It depends on the market and how competitive it is. We always adapt to what the market responds to. The easiest way to test what's best is just to have one text message that encapsulates your company in a way that's just very well rounded, and then trying different creatives. Creatives is how you test who you get in front of without changing like who you attract as much. You can appeal to them in different ways. If you think about your homeowner, they might respond to different things, right? Out of 1,000, 500 might respond better to just like the general fair pricing, great quality work, local owned messaging. Some others might lean into storm, some might lean into tile, some might lean into financing, etc. All right, so we covered how you can get good results, finally, with controlling the kind of messaging that gets sent out there, because that's what controls the quality of homeowner. Now, what about how to see if you're actually doing well? How do we diagnose how well we're doing with ads or any singular marketing effort for that matter? I'm going to install this framework as someone who spends 6 figures a month for my company on our ads to acquire customers, so that you can see, as well as for all the clients that I've managed in my company. Here's what good looks like. A real client cycle with real numbers. We have booked appointment goal of 21, right? We want to spend 150 a day, right, in a month. And we're getting $120 leads, $200 to $250 cost per booked appointments, and around 50% of our leads are getting booked. You know, there might be some that are out of service area. We have a good speed to lead, cost per link click. We're able to tell if ads are fatiguing, etc. What we're doing is we're wanting to set a good expectation out of all this, right? What actually matters. So if you forget everything, if you take away one thing, we just want to know, relative to how much we spend, how many sit downs did we actually get? And if we're spending a few $100s to get a qualified homeowner who needs a roof seeing on your calendar, if your close rate's 25, 30%, if your average ticket is $15K, you can afford to spend hundreds of dollars to get in front of one homeowner, whether that be between 200 or 400, 5, 6, 7, 800 is kind of pushing it, depends on your profit margins, but you really just divide the cost per appointment by your close rate, and that's your cost to acquire a customer. And if that fits well into your math equation, and you taking yourself out of owner-led sales is something that you're okay with that number being scaled, then you have a winning formula. That is what defines success. And anything else that comes between it, whether that be your lead quality or sales, that needs to be diagnosed. You can fix the actual marketing issue by telling if it's a marketing issue depending on what the homeowners say. If they're saying things like they expect a roof to cost XYZ, or they're really shopping around for 10 quotes when they should, a normal person does like 3, then you're dealing with a lead quality issue, right? If they're pushing back and they're not really having any intent, they're ghosting, that's another issue. But that could be diagnosed beforehand, right? The lead that no one wants has a mobile home. They're just getting a price, repair or partial replacement, not sure how they want to pay, and timeline is flexible. But the lead that you want to buy is a one that has, just a normal home, they're ready to install, full roof replacement, they know how they want to pay, and they're wanting it as soon as possible. Or close to it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you can shorten the timeline with a good sales process. You could have 2 different companies run the same kind of platform, and they can get these 2 different results. It just depends on your creative. That's really all it depends upon. Now, you understand where the issue lies. How do you isolate quality issues? Well, you could have good quality leads coming from one of your creatives and then really bad quality leads coming from another. The rule is you want to isolate before you react. So what ad is the one that you're actually complaining about, and how many of those ads appointments actually said that thing? If you have 22 booked, 2 ads, ad A and ad B, but ad B is the one bringing in 11 appointments, but only one of those was like an objection that you really didn't like, you just have one price shopper, not an entire price shopper problem. We can judge based on lead to booked and sit to close rate, right? Not just cost per lead. We want to see how much it costs for them to sit, as well as what does it cost to close them. And if we're not closing them, what's the reason why we're not closing them? And get really honest with ourselves and our salespeople. Speaking of, if we have a sales team with more than one person and we're giving more than one of them appointments, we want to split the appointments by rep before we split by ad. We want to see what their close rate by person is, because that exposes a narrative that somebody can feed false truths into because they're trying to protect themselves unknowingly, right? Avoiding the pain that they might not actually understand how to adjust the conversation to close a different kind of lead. And that's okay. A lot of companies aren't equipped to do that, but most that are ready to scale, they have a sales process that is adaptable to where the homeowner is at in their mental journey. Here's the benchmark to hold your team to. 50% of leads should book, and approximately just industry average, 25 to 30% of SAT appointments should close. So when a complaint comes in, it's one of the three things. Which is it? Is it price objections, genuinely bad lead? Is it leads that ghost? Is it leads that don't close? If all three check out, you have a creative conversation, and that means marketing needs to get fixed. And now you know what to fix. Meta is going to find whoever you ask it to find. Most roofers never decided, who am I actually asking for? What kind of homeowner do I want to get in front of? Nearly all lead quality concerns trace back to the roofer not understanding that, but now they do. There's a misdiagnosis from the sales side, which leads from them to not understand what's the actual cause of the problem. And so all of them are actually in your control, which is the best takeaway, which is the best thing. And so I really hope that me breaking it down in this way was objective and helpful for you to be able to now understand what might have went wrong, or how to approach running meta ads and getting homeowners in that channel for your company.